Hello everyone, welcome to Outspoken. This time we have a different setup. We have two managers from the two best teams almost in the world. My team, Laurent Delorme, Specialized Gravity, and Gabe from Canyon. It's been hectic to set up the thing because they're just stressed out, so we're gonna make them comfy and it's gonna be all fine. But we have a lot of interesting things to ask them, so let's do it. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I'm gonna start just to change. Laurent is team owner, team manager, and you are team manager.
Correct.
I'm gonna start asking you then. What is your job?
It's a pretty wide range. It starts a lot of off-season sort of contract stuff and dealing with sponsors and orders, and then during the season, it sort of moves into a lot of the bookings, the logistics, and sort of the day-to-day operations. And then once the season actually gets underway, it's just sort of executing on all your plans is, I guess, a really simple way of putting it. And hopefully you've done your job in the off-season, and it's you're not cleaning up messes, right? You're kind of enjoying and going for the ride and watching the boys do what they do best.
No, for sure. You mentioned all the contracts, logistics, orders, sponsors, but you're a team manager, so you also manage the teams, right? You want to talk about management-wise? What do you do to organize the team? Because we have a lot of persons, staff, riders. What's your job with that?
The main goal for me is to make my boys confident. When I talk about my boys, is my riders for sure and the staff. For sure, we have a lot of help now, and we are maybe around 10 or 11 people for 2 riders. And it's a lot, but all the people on site, they all have a really important job and mission, and they are all focused on the performance, and they have exactly the same goal as me, making the boys confident. When you're in the start gate, you have to be sure that you have everything ready to perform, and that's the main part of my job, is selecting the right people and doing the right things to have you quite 100% when you start.
Yeah, I know a lot about Laurent's way to manage because I'm his rider, and the last few years he's been creating a nice environment for me in the team with people from my environment, like one of my best friends for media, one of my trainer for the lines on track and stuff. Do you try to sometimes create that for Troy also, or Mark?
Definitely with what Laurent said, he's spot on with everything and I totally agree with that, is that it is so much about the environment that for the riders that you're in. If you have one person that doesn't fit and is pulling the other direction or is upsetting the balance, it just throws everything into a spiral. So, Troy and Mark and myself, and obviously we have a whole bunch of people in the group. It is to put the right people in place. So, without going through too many details on exact personnel and stuff, but it's like there's definitely been some very strategic moves over the last 2 or 3 years to put the right people in place all around to make sure that it's relaxed and the riders can focus on trying to win the race, like opposed to worrying about, being stressed out about, as a racer, the littlest things, if there's something that it can ruin a weekend pretty quick, right?
And I totally right, but I remember when first Canyon started their program, you came in after the start because they started with a different setup, and you were needed pretty much because you had a team with Da Vinci, and then Da Vinci stopped the team. The program was pretty much not running anymore. How did you come back? What was the transition from Da Vinci to Canyon?
So Da Vinci decided to fold their whole team and didn't want to continue, and I was sort of let know pretty late before the season started, and I was sort of kind of hung out to dry a little bit on that. So I was sort of looking for a job, and sort of, you touch base. I spoke to Laurent, I even rung him up, and I'm like, not specifically looking to typically work there, but just, hey, if you hear anything, let me know. And somehow Nigel got into the loop, and so did Troy. And I spoke to both Nigel and Troy, and I think there was some needed changes within our infrastructure, the Canyon program. And basically, the next thing you know, I knew I was talking to Andreas and to Fabian, and then basically, because they were sort of leading the majority of the stuff at that stage, and then it just sort of came together literally like a week before Fort William. I was like thrown into the mess, like I don't want to say the mess, thrown into the mayhem, and it all went really well, obviously in Fort William, and
we were happy to see you back.
Yeah.
I'm happy to back. I enjoy it. It's a good group of people, and it's a good camaraderie within the whole circuit, right? Like it's good. It's good.
But I feel like from riders' perspective, managers like you, Laurent, I feel like a good manager needs to have a paternal side, like to be the dad and treat like the staff as their kids. Is it something that you try to recreate from your family to your team? Or?
I'm gonna let Laurent. This is all you. You got more kids than me, man.
Yeah, I've got 3 at home, and for sure I've got 2 under the pit. Pretty sure this is my type of management, and I love working like that. But it's not the only way to succeed. For example, I don't know exactly how Aaron works, but I know that he don't need certainly somebody like me to perform, and he's able to handle all the pressure and able to organize his environment. But me, I think I love starting working super early with my riders, and I love sharing the really important thing of education, because for me, a good rider has got always a good education, and that's the reason why we always talk with parents before and blah blah blah. But for sure, yeah, me, I love managing my team as my family, and it's easier because you don't lie, it's raw emotion. And when you're happy, they know. When you're not, they know also. Then it's super efficient and super easier for me.
And you just mentioned the way to take a rider from a young age to educate him and treat him as a kid, kind of to build him. How do you feel, how important is the recruitment before juniors or in juniors for a big team? Like, do you actually spend time looking at the results? Do you have infos from other countries, markets, that there is a young guy riding fast? Or how do you recruit people?
I think from my side, it's like you're passionate about racing. You're interested in racing. You know, you know where to separate like being a fanboy to someone that's doing a business, but generally you just want to see and watch racing because you're into it. So you're naturally watching results all over the place and following people, and then you see some sort of trends or some reoccurrences of some glimpses of raw speed and talent, skill on the bike and things like that, and you go, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on him. Like, you know, as everyone knows, if you either have raw talent and raw speed, a lot of the other stuff you can teach, right? Whereas, well, like that's exactly what Laurent said, like creating the systems within the team. But like you see those glimpses of brilliance, and you're like, okay. And you have like, we both have probably 5 guys on our watch list that are like kind of the Groms, and you're like, hey, let's see what happens in 1 or 2 years. And you know, I'm always teasing Laurent here, like, hey, where's the next Frenchie? You know, like.
It's coming.
Yeah, I know. I hear it.
Roland knows.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, that's really what it is. I think from my side, and I'm sure it's the same with Laurent. It's like we're passionate about the sport and racing, so it's part of what you want to do.
Yeah, and that what makes you end the weekend being satisfied, like because you have so many aspects from performance to image to sponsor. Satisfaction.
Yeah.
Satisfaction,
yeah.
So yeah, to sponsor satisfaction, to rider satisfaction, staff. Like what's the thing that you have in your head when you have a successful weekend? Is there anything like a perfect mixed?
Well, it's a deep question. There's so many levels to that, right? It's like
what's the main important one then?
I think it's seeing the rider basically perform at what they can do best themselves, performance-wise, and exceed even their own expectations. If they're like struggling with a certain aspect of the way they're riding their bike, to push themselves so that when the rider leaves that weekend with like I did a damn good job. I left it all on the track, and I did what I can do. It feels like from a team manager's point of view, that if he can walk away saying that he did that, it's almost like everyone involved, all of me and my staff and everyone involved with the program has done that for the rider to walk away saying that.
You agree, Laurent?
Yeah, for me, most important thing is having the kids coming back under the pits in one piece. And because I'm so scared about losing my boys with a big crash and everything. I had so much time in the hospital with Loris and with other crash. Then for me, that's the main important thing. After that, for sure, we are professional and we are private team, even if we are riding under factory support, but we are private, then we have to be efficient, and we always have to try to reach the best spots and try to be sure that the riders is able to use all this training he had during the winter, all the skill he's got, all the works of the people behind the scene, everything what they did. I want to be sure that we will, on one run, the rider will be able to prove that everybody made the job. But for me, the main important thing is to have you coming back. I'm not scared, but
no, but the risk is real.
Yeah, the risk is real, and we saw that last weekend with so many crash and with Brooke. And me, I don't want to come back without somebody. Then that's the main important thing for me.
Yeah, it's like they become part of your family. Like, as you said, like you definitely don't want to see someone who becomes one of your really close friends go down. Whether it doesn't, absolutely, yeah.
We spend so much time together. It's maybe half of the year we are together, half of the year we have our private life. But I think now, with the social media and everything, the private life is connected to the professional life. And even when your kids, they are not on site, but they can follow you and watch you on TV and blah, 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 then now it's like a big family. That's the reason why when you talked about having the right people, for sure that's super important to work with the right people, because we are together main part of the year.
Yeah.
And within riders, we speak a lot to each other, even competitors like me and Troy, we speak a lot. Amaury, Troy, Amaury, me, Loris, everyone speaks together. And we don't really, but that's pretty, like, that's in the spotlight a bit, because we like to show that the sport is pretty good between, like, there's no bad rivalry or anything. How does the team in the background of that communicate to each other? Is there anything that you speak a lot about, or nothing you exchange on, or do you share a lot of infos or skills to each other? What's the behind the scenes exchange?
Me, I like sharing with the good people, and it's not about just having the right info or something like that. It's just about sharing, because we are racing same place, and we are competing each other every weekend. Then I like sharing, and when there is good people like you, Gabe.
Oh, nice. I made the cut.
But there is some. There is not a lot, but it's always good to talk, and as I told you, it's always raw emotion and a lot of super up and down. Then it's good also to be able behind the scene to talk and share feelings, and share also some information about the business sometime, or about one of the rider becoming a bit stupid and hard to manage or hard to deal with, or if the family becomes pretty hard to deal with. Then this is the info we can talk about, and it's always me. I never lie with them, because with the time the lie will disappear and you will always know the truth. Then it's.
Do you have a specific example of like a business thing you can share with Gabe or something? Like, what kind of business do you guys talk about?
like if we're ever stuck on, like there's a lot of things, like there's a lot of logistics and moving parts, like for example, like when we go to a new location, it's like, simple things from like, hey, do we know where the pits are? Like we don't necessarily have all the information about the venue, and it's like, where are you? What did you know? What do you know with that? Sort of things like along those lines. And sometimes it's it's also logistics with moving things around and locating, and sometimes like if I go to France, like I might need something, and I've called Laurent for stuff for our truck before. I'm like, hey man,
For shopping,
yeah. I've called for Laurent for our truck, and I've said, hey man, where did you do this to your truck? And he's like, gives me a list of 3 of the places that take care of sort of things for the truck. And it's one of those things where I think within the managers there's definitely alliances between certain people that work together. We're not going to give away our deepest, darkest secrets, but we're also, like as Laurent said, we're not going to lie to each other. And because we are, first and foremost, we're friends, and we're working in the same industry. Like your integrity is probably the most important thing, right?
And also on the business side, sometimes you can't have 2 partners for the tires or 2 partners for the handlebar. Then if you have a brand that wants to push but you can't sign with them, then sometimes it's good to share this type of info, because it's better to have more brands involved in the World Cup industry, because it means that they will push and they will promote our product. We are kind of a sports marketing product, but it's good to have more and more brands involved in that. Then it's good to share. Me, I prefer, instead of keeping 2 offers, I prefer to share some offer with people I know well and I appreciate. It means that they will bring and they will have the brand coming, and they will support them, but maybe in 5 years they will support me. And it's better to do that instead of losing this potential partner.
Okay. I didn't know that. It's good.
Yeah, and at various events you get stuck where you don't have something, something small and simple, and it's like, on tons of times I'm asked for things all the time,
Yeah.
And I also, in certain parts of the world, it's like Laurent's probably like me. We have the luxury of having larger trucks in Europe, so people think that we're the new UPS of Europe, and it goes both ways. Like I've asked in North America, where we don't have the largest infrastructure, I've called on someone else to help me move some of like the wheels and stuff, right? And what comes around goes around. It's true, right?
Mm-hmm. And so tell me if I'm wrong. You are factory team?
Yes.
And we are private team?
Yeah, and factory support.
Okay, so what are the pros and the cons, again, like for a private team, for example, and what are the main advantages, and would you like to change to a factory team, for example, Laurent?
I don't want to change, because for sure factory team is more comfortable, because you have, for example, the cash flow, and you have all the power of the brand directly, but you are not able to do some of the choices we are doing currently. And it's part of freedom, but it's also a big part of efficiency for me. Then for sure I will never change.
And you? Would you like to change to private?
It's Laurent nailed all the points like perfectly there. As a private team, you do have the flexibility versus the financial and that. And I think the key, Laurent's in a great position that he owns his company. He's been established for a long period. So for him, there's no way to go back. Like there isn't a reason to. Right now, I'm happy with the infrastructure and the arrangement I have right now. I think it's great. And maybe in 5 years, 3 years, who knows what the future holds. If the opportunity came to go Laurent's route, but also that being said, me being a North American-based person, it would be far more difficult to do what Laurent does as a non-European-based person. Because, Laurent, you guys have your offices and race shops and everything that's vital to run a team. And to do that, me, not living in Europe, to tell you the truth, to do that efficiently, I really think you need to be European-based, just with our current World Cup structure.
Yeah. And what about the current World Cup structure? Would you change anything? Is it good? at the moment? Could it be better?
As far as the venues, or as far as
the venues, the amount of World Cups, everything.
I think there's like, with the UCI, I think they do a great job for the most part. Like, I don't see any like gaping holes on that. They have a massive job. We need to remember they run like road, track, mountain bike, XC, and various other events. So for the mountain bike side of things, I would like to see some other, maybe one or two more strategically placed events that make sense budget-wise. Like, where we're coming, like, it's awesome having this back-to-back with Mount St. Anne coming this weekend to Snowshoe. Like, I think it's awesome to have these two events, and if we could stretch that out to even another stop, so we can make investments into infrastructure over here, because like, we can do this right now. It's happening, and everyone's going to be successful this weekend, but it's not the same as not having that infrastructure in Europe. I'm not saying we struggle, but it just makes the weekend a little smoother for the racers and riders. We're not scrambling as much. Mount St. Anne's great because we've been there so many years. We have infrastructure and storage there. We know we're going there like for many years to come, but that's key when you're coming to this side. So I would vote to have at least another, try to get something, if we could get at least 3 races in North America, that'd be cool, because then we could come here for 3 weeks, do the 3 races. But also the challenge there too is the North American continent is so big. Yeah. So you're almost gonna have to come for 4 weeks, because if you do one on the west, it takes a week for a truck to drive there and with track walk. So that opens up a whole other can of worms. But I would like to see some more strategically placed races that don't blow the budgets, right? Because there is a ceiling on those, right?
And that there is also something that no one really speaks about, but it's pretty industry oriented. Like, when you sign, it's not about UCI rounds, but more on riders. When you sign a rider, you always have to look the market he is from. That's because sometimes we see some really good riders from small countries.
Not always.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But like for example, Zabjek Yuri is really good, and his potential is really good, but he's from Slovenia.
Yeah.
Slovenia. And it's a super small market. They have Unior, which is a really good support, but I feel like some riders from some countries may have more chances than others. Is it fair or not?
Fair for the riders?
Because the brands ask you to make smart choices for their market too. Like Troy, Mark, it's the Oceania, North America, Finn, North America, France, Europe, So it's pretty...
By my side, it's more about the potential rider, and because in this country it's strong market, but it's also always strong race circuit. Then in France you have good races and you have good riders, and in North America it's coming back with good races, then good racer, and same in GB. Then for me, I don't think it's unfair. And if there is a crazy rider coming from Tahiti or whatever, I will sign him. I will sign him for sure. I don't care about the market, because the market for sure they prefer. But you are French and you help promoting the brand in Canada and in North America, whatever, or even in South America. You promote the brand because you are the best. And whatever, if you come from France or from Spain, you are the best. You promote well the brand. Let's go.
And it's a lot to do with the actual rider as well. If you have a person can be an outgoing personality versus a closed personality. There's so many factors, but in the most part, a rider can, first and foremost, I think Laurent and I, the programs we're with are basically, they are performance programs. We do want to win. We're not there to just have a good time, but if there is a massive plus to having someone also that's a charismatic and outgoing person like yourself and Troy and that as well. Like, that's, if you can put results with that, it's a win-win, right? So, so you can go both ways. And also having a person, if you had the greatest guy in the world from Japan and he was awesome, he was charismatic, there's a great following, and he's likable worldwide, and he fits within the group, there's different goals in every there's different goals with every person you look at.
For sure, when you don't know, you will follow the advice of the partner because they go the easiest way. But when you know what you are looking for, and when you know that the young rider is a good rider and he will be able to become one of the top guys, you can sign him in whatever the country is coming from. And just coming back on the races, but for me, I think now because the product is pretty good, and with a good TV production, good regulation, good communication, also the character, then you, the riders, it's so insane. You are pretty boys or pretty girls riding pretty fast, and it's a good story. It's a really good story. Then we definitely need more. We need more races, and for me, I think we should have 5 or 6 months with 2 races per month. Could be perfect. That's the minimum with a World Cup level. And then we can add in this schedule some of the test race or some of the national race. But for me, it could be pretty cool because there is a full-time investment from so many people, and there is big investment in cash and in product from the partner. Then we need more.
Yeah, but then
the risk is too big. When you miss a race, the risk is too big, and you can miss 10% of your season or 15 or 20% of the season. And if you have more race, then you can come back and you can try to win races and have more points, and the story can start back, you know. Then for me, I think we need more races.
But if you have like 4 more stops on the World Cups, it's a lot of money to go to these World Cups. Is it something that
it's already a lot of money to hire all the staff, all the riders.
Can we know how much is it for a year for one of the teams?
I don't know. We are talking about million or something like that. Yeah.
Millions or million? 1 million.
I don't know. I don't know about the German power. I know about the American power we've got.
It's Laurent's bang on. It's. I think the key word was what I said earlier. It's like more races, without a doubt, strategically placed so that you can link things together.
Yes, you don't have to go back and forth.
Sure.
Yeah, and like and the thing is, and what Laurent says is a good idea. If we can push it out a little bit longer, that will help with the UCI, their whole large picture scheduling, and then we can also open up for maybe some of these, other special events in the middle. There's some of the potential, like Whistler has the Crankworks event. It's a nice draw. I'm sure there have been
Fox US Open, for example.
Yeah. Do you focus on other events than World Cups? Is it important for the team or no? Or the World Cup is 90%?
For us, the World Cup is the focus. Absolutely, it's the pinnacle of the sport.
It's not the top.
Change. I don't think it's going to change. I think it's they really take care of the riders. They take care of the teams. They give the exposure we need. They push the brands that are supporting as well. They give you, when you buy into supporting a team, so to speak, on the results sheet it says, Specialized Gravity or Canyon Factory Racing. They give back to the people that are supporting it. Whereas some of these smaller races or the second tier races, it's they don't really give as much push for the brands. I don't feel. You see, it's quite easy. You just look at the results sheets. It doesn't say any name next to them on the results sheet, right? So that for me is really important, but I also think that, like me being from Vancouver and the Whistler thing and seeing they do get a big draw there. They have some great spectators. Granted, most of them there are there for the slope style, not for the downhill race, but it's a good race. It's a good location. It's a good vibe.
But I feel like it's because they push the slope style more than they want to push the downhill. Crankworks don't really focus on downhill that much.
I agree. It's their focus is their bread and butter on that. I would like to see,
because the World Cup model is also perfect currently. The TV production is insane.
Yep.
Regulation is so good. All the riders, they are there.
Yep.
That's the most important thing, having the right rider.
Yeah, the whole field.
Exactly. Yeah. Then that's the reason why there is so much interest. Then for us, it's the same. We are 95% World Cup and championship for sure, and 5% of other events to promote brands that support you. the team.
And what about Olympics? What are your thoughts on not being in the Olympic sport?
Yeah, by my side, I think we are making the mountain bike cool, and we are proving that the mechanical side of the R&D from our partner is working pretty well. It means that Olympics, they are scared about the mechanical things, and that's one of the reasons we are not Olympics.
But is it actually the reason why we're not Olympic?
That's what I heard, and that's the reason why I'm not pushing too hard to do some lobby and to be sure that we will be at the Olympics. For sure, it's a big exposure, but the people who are watching you, they don't know you. They will know you for 1 week because you bring back a medal to France. Then it's pretty cool. You become some
national hero.
Yeah, somebody awesome, and yeah, you are kind of a hero. But I'm sure they don't care about the sport. And 2 weeks after, they will not switch on the Red Bull TV, or they will not switch on the TV to watch the World Cup, the next World Cup. Then me, I don't care too much about the Olympics. For sure, it's a massive exposure, but we are different sports, and we can succeed. The sports marketing product can succeed without the Olympics.
I think we're seeing more. It'll be interesting to see because we are seeing more of the core sports go into the Olympics, like surfing, skateboarding, the flatland BMX are all in the Olympics the next go around. I don't know if they're test events or actual events, but they all are going to be in one of these upcoming events. But then, it does, whether we believe it or not, it does change the sport a little bit.
And look at BMX.
Look at BMX, we've heard there's been...
That's not a success.
No, it's not a success, but for example, the clubs, like at home and stuff, when there is Olympic Games, the next come back to school moment when people enter to the BMX, there's like 50 more kids because the parents have seen it, it looks cool, and the kids want to do it.
1 year after, they go back to judo or soccer.
But there is a little push, but I feel like the sport maybe don't need it. Like I've always had this speech, like I feel like Daniel doesn't need
I agree.
Olympics to be great.
I think it already is good right now. I think that, like Laurent says, the tracks are good, the TV coverage is good, everything's good. It would be cool to be a part of it, of course, because you like if you win the gold medal, the patriotism. It's almost like another world championships. Like everyone loves to represent their country for that one race a year. It gives you, whether it's any sport, you see the patriotism that comes out in ice hockey. Like it's all these guys that play on all these teams. They come together for one event, and it's in football's the same, right? It's like it's another, which is really cool. And maybe if it influences, like if it gets the exposure for the young kids to even a glimpse to get it. But Laurent is right. There's going to be a lot of guys that just look at it and be like, oh, cool, the French or the Canadian guy won. But it's, I think it'd be cool for a rider just to represent their country one more time. But I do say that, we don't, to be successful and to be an opinion leading sport on the gravity side, we don't need them.
Yet.
Yeah, maybe one day. But going back to the season, we have Troy and
yourself?
Troy and me, we had a pretty intense battle, also along with Amaury and stuff. But with the rivalry is massive with Troy, but it's always fair play and stuff. And Troy is always fair play in the second places, even though he has a lot of really close really close second places. Like where you almost like, Troy, you could have won this, Yeah. How does the team feel when Troy gets second, like in a lot of races this year, for so small, like a so short amount?
Whoa, it's
What do you do management wise? Do you tell the sponsors chill, or do you?
No. Like if you're looking at a rider like Troy, who's always in the mix, who's providing great exposure for all the brands, leaving it on the track, and is a positive influence for the kids, the people, his country, everyone. there can only be one person that can win, right? So hopefully Troy, I know he's a competitive person and he's hungry. He's gonna find motivation in what's happening. And yeah, I think you've probably seen it in the riding through the year. He's become more and more aggressive in his riding as the season's progressed because he's hungry. He wants to win one. He wants to get you, right?
I know.
It's one of those things where it's like we support Troy. We're happy. But we're hungry. We want to win.
Okay.
But
No, but it's good to know because every time I see Troy, like even last week, he was second for 0.5, and in the season he's been really close to. And every time he's so nice and so calm, and he's like, "Damn, good job," and he's too nice sometimes. And I'm like, how is he doing it? Is it actually taking a lot on himself and exploding at home, or is he just nice? And
no, Loic, he respects you as a person and as a racer and all of that. Deep down inside, he wants to kick your ass and win the race. But because he does respect you as a racer, you always congratulate your competitors. It's etiquette within the sport. There's other guys that come across the line. They shake your hand and they're not even looking at you, right?
Yeah.
That's not a true friendship. Whereas you guys actually have a friendship. So of course he wants to beat you, and it would be the same for you. But you're not going to disrespect a fellow competitor, in my opinion.
But for example, Amaury last weekend is a good friend of mine too, and he's a good competitor. Yeah. But you could see on his face that he was mad, like he was obvious. He was like, "Fuck." And Troy was happy.
But I think that also depends on how your run went.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I haven't actually spoken to Emery, so I don't know what happened exactly in his run. So if something didn't go according to plan, he'd be super pissed, right? Whereas Troy, I think he felt like, he had a bobble or two, just like everyone else on the track, but he felt that he left it on the track, right? You could see by his run.
Yeah, for sure.
So if he left it on your track, so if you've made a mistake or something, that's when you're pissed off. So obviously something happened to Emery where he was pissed because something did not go according to plan, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. I think that's what I think, at least. Am I wrong?
No, you're totally right. Me, I don't know that feeling yet, and this is something I will have to learn for sure. Learning how to help my boys to go back to the fight, and instead of being second, trying to find.
But we've had it before.
But you have to find motivation.
That was way different because you won some quali. That was more about you and not about the other. That was more about being able to do the perfect run, and that was more the thing we did with you, and this is currently what we are doing with Finn. It's not about trying to beat the last two guys. It's more about being able to put the right thing with the right timing and being able to have the 100% run for the final.
You find motivation in defeat.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
You do, and it depends how long that's gonna. It's gonna come, right? And you got to be patient and not overcook it. And hopefully, he doesn't overcook it, which he won't. He's pretty level-headed. I feel confident.
Yeah. You and Troy since junior.
Yeah.
It's the same. Not the same story, but it's the same friendship and the same competition.
And yeah, it's been there forever. So
you're eventually gonna have to sing the Australian anthem. You know that, though.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Have you been practicing?
Yeah, don't worry. I got this. Maybe not as good as Troy though. So we have a team. You built your team from day one. I remember. It was Q-Bikes back in the day, Lapierre, Specialized. Like it took a while to come to one of the best. But now you are one of the best, I think. I try to be objective, sorry. And you built the team with Da Vinci, and you got into Canyon when the structure was already kind of made. Yeah. What do you prefer? Like, what do you think about buying or landing in a team already made, or building from scratch, even though if it takes ages to go to level?
I definitely like to build the program from square one. We touched on this earlier. Like you you find the young kids as a fan of racing, and you look for them, you add them to the program. But there is to a certain I think the racing has changed a little bit now with the involvement and the size. You know, we have the television coverage and everything, and also the riders are riding at a higher pace than they were, say, 10 years, 12 years ago. So I think that to make an investment in a sport, you don't need to win in your first year you're there. So you don't need to go out and like try to offer you a deal to, I don't think that's the right way to do it. But to have someone that's kind of in the mix to attract the partners so that it justifies an investment out of everyone, and then you can simultaneously build supporting a cast. Like a team, a team is not just one rider. The riders support each other in their training, they're watching their GoPros, their line choice with the staff, of course, and all this. There's so much goes into the rider winning the race, and having good teammates is so much of a part of it. So of course you always have a leader to a team and an athlete, or in that point, but it's so important to have a great supporting cast in the athletes that work well with the lead rider, and hopefully you develop them into a top rider or a lead rider or a competitive person in the future. So that for me is the ideal scenario. Is to, I think it would be very difficult for a company or a brand to justify an investment to go World Cup racing right now if you had just, like no one that's gonna, no one that's gonna get a top 10 or a top 20. It's like, I think that we're already struggling a little bit for getting enough support on some of the other programs. I'm really happy with what we have as a team, but I see some other teams that could use a bit more support, that I think it'd be very difficult to start from scratch right now.
Me, I was happy to start from scratch for sure. And
but that was like 10, 15 years ago.
15 years. Yeah. And because I learned a lot year after year. Now, for sure, it's easier, and there is kind of a recipe. Then you can not buy a program, but you can create a program with faster, and it's going to be easier. But it will take maybe 2 or 3 years to make sure that you have the right people. When I talk about people, it's the rider, but also the staff. And but I was pretty happy to start from the beginning and learn with you guys. That was the best thing.
Same thing on the Da Vinci side. It started from absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah.
An easy up tents, right? Mm-hmm. Like nothing, and it's a really good feeling to have the success of the riders, the staff winning, and everything. Like Stevie won the overall out of an easy out tent.
And I was gonna ask, did you manage Stevie before Da Vinci or not?
Yeah, I met Stevie like a long time ago when he was I think it was probably 15 years, and I was working at a bike shop, and we had a small team, a Cove team.
Yeah.
And
so on Cove he was already with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he basically broke a bike, and he was like 15, and I basically I lent him a bike for the weekend, and he went and won the race on a bike he'd never ridden before, and I was like, hey, this guy's sick. And I said, hey, next year you can be you'll be on our team. And that's when and that was sort of the beginning of the relationship. It just went from there. And then as I was presented opportunities in business, I said, hey, I would always, make the move for me. And then I would say, hey, if you want to come, we'd love to have you. And Steve, being a loyal guy, he was along for the ride.
Yeah, because you brought him from there then to COVID days to
Evo.
World Cup overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evo.
To Da Vinci.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
And how, because Mono was talking about it, how emotionally are you involved? Because you hire staff, you hire riders, but you get along well or not, and you get attached to these people. How hard is it to leave that a little bit, trying to leave it on the side and be pro? Or do you don't leave it at all on the side?
Me, I try to be pro to the Sunday morning, and then after the emotion is here and you can't control, because it's too intense. And depends on the result, on whatever during the race, but you can't control that. And you want to be professional, but on Sunday morning or Friday or Saturday morning when there is the cross country, the brain is switching to the family mode, and then you don't know.
No, I agree. I think it's once the race starts, that's, you just sit back and you enjoy, and the emotions do kick in because you do want the people who you're so close with to do well. Before that, I think it's business, there's jobs to do, and let's be honest, the riders have a job to do. They have to go out and learn the track and do it. So there's definitely, but once, when you win, I'm sure Laurent was crying when you won the overall. Like he
I never won the overall.
Oh, sorry.
No, we are talking about World Championship.
Of course, yeah, and that's when a guy that you've worked with for so long does achieve that ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Of course, you're insanely happy for the whole situation, right? It's like, it's something that you have poured a lot of time and effort into. The riders put even more time and effort and training and everything into it. So it's.
But yeah, actually, we paid to be riding and to be as good as we can on races. But do you talk with each other on the prices our value or not? Do you know, like, if you close your eyes, you don't talk to each other? Laurent knows my value, but for example on Gwyn, if Laurent tells the price he will put on Gwyn and you will put on Gwyn, is it the same, you think? Do you know a little bit?
I think that a few people would have a good gauge of what the market is, and I think there is a little bit of information shared. To be honest, we don't. I think that I have had some discussions with some team managers on some staffing stuff like mechanics and soigneurs. I've had those discussions, and there are a few alliances on riders where there's, in my eyes, there's a few riders that are on my side are untouchables. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't, there's managers I respect. I'm not gonna pick up the phone and call, "Hey, Loic, what's up, mate? You want to come for a ride?" Like I wouldn't, we have our lead rider, whom we're very happy with and is great, and why, your integrity is so much part of it,
Okay.
right? If you came. If another rider came to me and said, "Oh, I'm really unhappy with where I am right now," and I was really tight with him, I would go to the team manager. I'd be like, "Hey, just so you know, your dude's reaching out to me. I'm gonna call him back, but I just want to let you know that I'm not fishing in your pool."
Okay.
Me, if I want to sign a rider within other team, even if I don't like the other manager, I will tell him, because at the end, it doesn't mean that the rider will stay or will come to in my program. And I really want always to say, okay, I would like to make an offer to the rider, and then I start to talk to the rider. This is what I used to do.
Okay.
Because I prefer, and on the karma side, or I don't know, I prefer to do that. But for sure, after it's business, then you always try to prove that you are the best. And if you really want to sign a newcomer or somebody who is unhappy in another team, then for sure you will work and you will try to make the best offer. It's not all about the money, because now there is so many things. You need the best mechanic, the best physio, the best guys on side of the track. You need the best social media. You need the best food. You need the best guy who's going to take care of everything and be sure that even if somebody is missing, then the other will be able to help and to do the things. Then it's not just an offer with bonuses and money. It's a lot of things. But for sure, me, when I want to sign somebody, and I think we had the case when I wanted to sign Stevie, we had a talk, and I had also this type of talk with the manager.
When did you want to sign Stevie?
That was a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah, I think that was in Avgel, or I came to your booth.
So 2012 or...
Yeah.
You were good. Yeah. Right around the right time to try.
Yeah.
But it was... Yeah, like the thing is that there is integrity, right? Like there's people that I find that are untouchable. Like I wouldn't even go down that road with some people personally. Like it's just not worth it. There's plenty of great riders out there, and for me to, from my side, to really go after someone in a good situation, a good infrastructure where he or she is really successful, why would you even want to disrupt that? Like, pulling a good rider out of a good system and a good infrastructure, you can be very confident in what you can provide as a team, but if they're really successful in that,
It's true.
It could be dangerous, right?
But if the rider is smart anyway, he's not gonna see the need of a change.
Correct.
So, and my opinion on downhill is that it's pretty healthy at the moment. Like it's really at a good stage. And we had Martin Maes last week, and I spoke a bit with him, and he said that he chose to race enduro because he liked it and he had some stuff to finish, some undone business.
Yeah.
But he said the salaries and everything was way higher in downhill. What do you think about enduro? Do you think it's has potential? Where is it enduro? Do you have interest in enduro? Because you manage
we're
a little bit enduro.
We have a little bit of enduro in our structure. I think that enduro is great for the cycling, for the bike brands. I think it's great. It's a great participation sport as well. There's a lot of people. It's the largest category selling bikes. Not everyone buys a downhill bike. That is the key sales category for a bike that's raceable. Like that category. So it's important, I think, to support that sport. It's a new sport, a newer sport. So I think it's got a lot to grow and a lot to evolve still. It is growing each year, but it's not as mature as this. There's some great riders. We've seen, Sam transfer over. You've got a bunch of really fast French dudes from your area that are on our team in Canyon,
Sure.
And they're doing great. And like Florian and Nick and Adrian too, who was on the Lapierre as well.
No, for sure.
So it's really good. But I personally still believe that the pinnacle of competitive gravity racing sits in downhill. Like there's so much more technology and tuning, and
the speed, like everything is the highest pretty much.
Yeah, it's the one run against the clock. It's from 2 to 4 minutes of zero margin of error, right? Enduro, it's a full day on the bike. You can go and enjoy the full day. You can do many runs. You can do it with your mates. You can do the climbs. Do your run and then you climb to the next stage with your friends. I think it's an awesome participation sport. I think it's vital for us. It's for a whole sport. But I still think, to be honest, I still believe that you sell bikes for downhill. You sell all the bikes for Specialized, like in every category. I think Troy sells every category of bikes for Canyon. I think there are some opinion leaders in enduro. Like I think Sam, as an enduro racer, sells every category. And I think Martin Maes sells probably every bike for GT. Even though he has had some awesome results in downhill, he's still viewed as an enduro racer who just loves to ride every type of bike he can get his hands on, right? So I think that there's a lot more opinion leaders in gravity over enduro.
For me, it's normal that the level of the money input is way different, because first, the downhill is understandable. You have a start, a finish, you have a time. You can follow that. It's super easy. And enduro is like a rally car, and downhill is like Formula One. Formula One, it's super easy to understand. There is the highest technology, and you have the fastest rider, the fastest driver in Formula One and in downhill too. And for me, enduro is great to do and great to ride, but I don't think that the factory support is needed. That's my feeling. Even if I love some of the guys in the enduro racing, and I help also some of the guys in enduro, and I want them to succeed. But for sure, it's way different than downhill. They don't need factory support. They just need a good mechanic, a good trainer, and they just need a kind of a salary to be full-time focused on that. Then having time to go during winter, checking some lines, because it makes sense to go and check some lines before the race. And it's hard to do blind Euro to win. I'm pretty sure the winner, they are
But it's
not
what
going
they
for
try
blind.
to have more and more.
but they have to do that if they want to be in the top 5. But for me, yeah, it's normal that the salary is different. And for sure, I love doing enduro, but I love watching downhill, and I'm so impressed by downhill, for sure.
Okay, I think we've had some good talk. I hope you guys liked the different dimension of the normal Outspoken. With Gabe and Laurent, thank you guys, and I hope you understood and learned some stuff. And yeah, last race of the season this week.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be crazy, intense again with Troy and Amaury and everyone. So good luck to us.
Yeah, enjoy the battle.
And thank you for watching. The season is ending. Maybe see you next year. And thanks a lot for the fidelity. Love you guys.